Hello there friends and followers, and welcome to this Explain 11 video. This is Q8Pilot, and today we are going to be conducting a full tutorial of the recently updated LES SAAB 340A. The LES SAAB 340A is one of the highest quality aircraft made for Explain 11. It is highly immersive and it is very authentic, quite representative of its real-world counterpart. The reason I have abandoned using this aircraft in the recent past is due to its incompatibility with Explain 11.5 and Vulkan. Thankfully, the LES team finally brought this aircraft to version 1.6, bringing full compatibility with Explain 11 Vulkan, as well as many enhancements, improvements, and bug fixes. For the purpose of our tutorial today, we are going to be flying the SAAB 340A from Monterey to Fresno Yosemite International in the state of California. We are going to be cruising at 15,000 feet with an approximate flight time of 45 minutes. So let's get started. Welcome to the LES SAAB 340A cockpit. The first thing we're going to do is remove all the static ground elements and introduce the ground power unit, or GPU. To do this, we're going to hover with the mouse over to the right side of the screen to bring up the Gizmo menu. From this menu, you are able to access the aircraft checklist, ground elements, and some other features. For a full list of the features available in this aircraft, please refer to my review video. Link to it is available in the description section of this video. First, we're going to head over to the ground support, and we're going to click here to remove all the static elements. We're going to click on Remove All Items and introduce the GPU. Next, we are going to bring the aircraft checklist. And we are going to be following the checklist today. Now, the checklist itself is dated in terms of the interface, but it is quite functional, and I really like the way they've done the checklist where you can actually go to each specific item and set it. We are going to skip the preparatory check, the walk-around check, and we're going to start with the before engine start check. Select the checklist, and as you can see now, we are able to see all the items that we need to go through for this checklist. First, we're going to go to the batteries. We're going to make sure the batteries, I have X camera turned on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the batteries and make sure they are turned on. Battery 1 and 2 are now turned on. External power, we're going to turn external power on. We're going to look at the bleed valves and make sure they are in the auto position. So first go to reset and then to the auto position. Next, we're going to go to the avionics and turn all three switches on. We can cancel the warning by clicking here and here. And now we have the avionics running. Next, we're going to go to the oxygen and make sure the oxygen is turned on by pulling up on the lever. Oxygen is now checked. Let's take a look at our circuit breakers. Circuit breakers are all okay. And we're going to go to the flight recorder, and you can enter your flight number here. We're just going to say 1100 for our flight today to Fresno Yosemite. Flight recorder is now checked. Let's take a look at the parking brake and make sure that it is set, which it is. Next, we're going to go to the cabin signs, and we're going to turn both on, seatbelt and non-smoking signs. Next, we're going to go to the engine instrument and ignition and take a look there. Everything looks good. The left and right ignition are in the normal position. Fuel quantity. Fuel quantity looks okay to me. We have sufficient fuel for our flight. And then we're going to check the hydraulics, and we have good pressure. Everything looks good in terms of our hydraulics. Cabin pressure is set, and power condition levers should be at ground idle, and which they are. Trims are set, and the takeoff data bugs should be set as well. So we're going to set those. What we're going to do here is we're going to set the speed bug. First, we can click here to check to make sure that it is functional, which it is. And next, we can set the bug to 105 knots which is our takeoff speed today. So we're going to set that to 105 knots, right about there. Looks good to me. And next we're going to go to the beacon light and make sure the beacon is turned on, which it is now. And finally, before engine start, we need to make sure that all the doors are closed, which they are, and that is checked. And now we are ready to start the aircraft engines. Now, to start the aircraft engines, it is quite simple. The first thing we need to do is we need to come to the fuel lever here. And now, in this version, you need to somehow lift up the lever and then move it to the start position. So to do this and show you exactly what you need to do, let me focus the view here. So we're going to pull the lever, move it, and then you're going to no, that's not what I wanted to do. All right, let me do it this way. There we go. So we're going to move it to the start position, and then you kind of need to push it down in order to lock it in the start position. And now all we need to do is go to the ignition right down here and to the start, and we're going to start with the right engine first. You need about 5 seconds, and then you can release the start button, and then we should start seeing the EGT rising. As you can see here, temperature, torque, RPM, all is rising, and we should be able to see the engine starting, as you can see here. So the engine is now starting. Once the first engine, once the right engine is stable, we're going to start with the left engine. As you can see now, the right engine is stable and we've got power. So let's go ahead and start the left engine. And same thing, we lift the fuel lever, move it forward to the start position, and then push it inwards. Now we can start the second engine, or the left engine, by moving the start button to the left. We wait for another 5 seconds or so, and then we release. And now, as you can see, we have the second engine as well spooling, and we can see the RPM, engine temperature is all rising, and everything is looking pretty good for the start of the second engine as well. Now we're going to go to the next checklist, and this is the after start engine checklist. First thing is auto. I think I have the. All right, I have X camera again enabled. So let's go here, and auto Corsair, I believe that's how it's set. It's set to on for departure. We're going to check the bus ties here and make sure everything is looking good, which it is. External power is to off. We're going to reset the engine generators now, and we're going to make sure the external power is now turned off. Generators, check. Looks okay to me. Air conditioning. We're going to set the air conditioning, and we're just going to put this right about here in the middle, in the midway point, and everything is looking good here. Let's turn on our recirculation fans. Emergency lights should be armed, and to do this we're going to open the guard and arm the emergency lights. Close the guard. Fuel used, reset, so we can just click here to reset the fuel used. Condition levers to max, and you can just hover over the condition levers. As you can see here, we're seeing the hand icon, but as soon as you see those two arrows, it means that you're able to manipulate both fuel levers together. So we're going to lift them up, and we're going to move them to the max position. Now the max position again is this one here, not all the way to the, not all the way there, but all the way here, and you need to also push it inwards so that it is in the max position. And now the aircraft is in the max position. You can hear, you can see the L beta is turned on. Condition levers is set. For eyes protection, we're going to put start the pitos, and then the overhead panel should have no lights there, so we're going to go ahead and turn off the external power. So we're going to bring up the... we can turn off the GPU now. And we can see now all the lights have gone away and everything is looking good. So we're in a good state now. EFIS check. Everything looks good. And we can have the clear signal received. Now we're going to set up the flight plan real quick. So, and we are using Sim Toolkit Pro for our flight plan. So let's start the avionics. We're going to start the Garmin device here. And we're just going to wait for it to load up. Perfect. We are ready to go. Let's click here and take a look at the flight plan. So we are at Monterey and we're going to be heading to Fresno today. So I'm just going to keep this here. We're going to bring up the Sim Toolkit Pro for our flight plan. Let's make sure always on top is clicked to keep it there. And let's take a look at our flight plan. So we're going to fly today from Monterey, runway 28 left, direct to Sierra November Sierra, direct to Papa X-Ray November, direct to November Tango Echo Lima Lima, and then it's a direct to Fresno or Kilo Foxtrot Alpha Tango, runway 29 right, which is an ILS runway at Fresno Yosemite. So to do this is quite simple. I'm going to go ahead, just for the sake of those of you who are not familiar with using the X-Plane default Garmin device, we're going to do it together here. We're going to move to the next point, and we're going to enter the direct location, which is Sierra November Sierra. So we're going to select here. No, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Sierra November Sierra, and that is set. Enter and accept. And the next one is by the way, those are two VOR stations. The next one is Papa X-Ray November, so we'll do the same thing. Papa X-Ray and November, and that is set and accept. And we're going to just actually go direct to Fresno, so we're going to enter right here our destination. Our destination is Kilo Foxtrot Alpha Tango. Right, Fresno Air Terminal, and enter that and accept. Now we're going to go to the procedures and we're going to select our departure. So the departure today is, we don't have any, so let's clear that, select procedure. So yeah, we don't have any departure, we don't have any sit today. So we're going to go direct to arrival, and actually let's go to approach. Insert, and this is the runway that we want, and we're going to enter, and we're going to do it through the ALTA transition. Enter and load, and now we have the full flight plan loaded here in the FMS, and we are ready to go. We can now remove the Sim Toolkit Pro, and we are now ready to go. All right, so our final cruise altitude is 15,000 feet. We're going to go ahead and set this here. So let's set 15,000. And 15,000 is now set. Everything else is looking good here. We'll worry about everything else once we are closer to our destination. Let's very quickly get the altimeter here at Monterey. And as you can see, the altimeter 3013. 3013. And 3013 is set. Let's make sure that it's set on this side as well. 3013. There we go. And now everything is set and we are ready to go. Okay, next checklist is going to be our taxi checklist. Brakes are checked. Altimeters are checked. Flaps, let's set flaps 5 for departure. Flight instruments, let's check them. Full up, full down, full left, full right, pedal, full left, full right, and neutral. And then we can test the performance. This is not modeled for prop overspeed, RA, GWS, and we can now set this CTOT. Again, I have X camera there, kind of making things difficult for me. There we go. So that is now set, and the briefing is now complete. Next checklist is the before takeoff checklist. Now, before we do the before takeoff checklist, what we're going to do is we're going to head over here and we're going to turn on the nav lights, the taxi lights, and the wing lights, and we'll worry about the rest of the flights later on as we approach the runway. All right, so we are ready now to taxi to the runway. We're going to release the parking brake and head over to the runway. Parking brake is released, and we're going to give it a little bit of power here and head over to our departing runway, which is 28 left. One thing we need to do for the steering to work is we need to push this guy a little down, and now we can steer the aircraft using the rudder pedals. We are now approaching our takeoff runway, which is 28 left here at Monterey. We're going to head over to the overhead panel. We're going to make sure the landing lights are on and our strobe lights are on as well. Let's bring up the checklist to make sure that we haven't missed anything. We're going to go to the before takeoff checklist. External lights are set, takeoff signal given, air conditioning is set, transponder is set, flight controls are checked, CWP is checked, and we need the takeoff inhibit, which is right over here, this button. So we click on takeoff inhibit, and we are now ready to go. All right, folks, we are at runway 28 left, ready for departure. We're gonna slowly advance the throttle forward. And we're just going to wait for the power to stabilize a bit, and then we're going to add a little more power to the aircraft. Make sure we don't hit the red there, or otherwise you're going to burn your engines. We're going to wait for the 105 knot mark and rotate. Positive rate of climb, and gear is going up. And we're going to begin a right turn now to intercept our flight path. We can bring up the Garmin device here so we can see exactly what we're doing, and this is the flight path here. And we're more than 1,000 feet AGL, so we can now start engaging the autopilot. To engage the autopilot of the Saab is quite simple. We're going to head down here, and you see those little switches here. We press and hold just momentarily until the autopilot is engaged, which it is now, and we're simply going to click on climb and nav, and we're going to make sure that this is set to GPS, and now the aircraft should follow the flight plan that we've entered in the FMC. As you can see, the aircraft is now turning to intercept the flight path set in the flight management computer. All right, let's go ahead and start with the climb checklist now that the autopilot is enabled. We're going to head over here and go to the checklist, and we're going to go to the climb check. Gear and flaps are up. Actually, flaps aren't up, so we're going to put the flaps up now. Ice protection is set. And we're going to turn this off. External lights we'll leave at the moment, but what we can do is we can turn off the taxi lights and the wing lights. We can leave the rest of the lights on. Cabin signs, we'll leave them as they are. Air conditioning is fine. and takeoff inhibit should be out, which it is. Cabin pressure, let's check that. Cabin pressure looks good. And prop sync should be turned on at this point, so let's turn that on. And the CTOW should be turned off, which it is, and the altimeters are checked and set. Alright, so we are going to now climb to our cruise altitude of 15,000 feet. As you can see, everything is looking good. And just by looking at the power here, make sure everything is in the green. We're okay here. We're okay here in terms of the temperature and in terms of the torque. And the aircraft is now climbing to our final cruise altitude of 15,000 feet. Alright, we are now approaching 10,000 feet. Let's go ahead and kill the lights. Landing lights are off, and we have the rest of the lights turned on for the remainder of the flights. We can bring in some panel lights here just to brighten things up a little bit, and center panel as well, and the digits, and we can head over here and also bring up some lighting to the panels so we can see things more clearly, and the instrument lights as well. As things get darker, we're going to turn on the floodlights as well, and it makes for some very immersive scene during nighttime. The LES SAAB 340 looks pretty good. The lighting has been done very, very well on this aircraft. The sounds are well. For its price of $49, I believe that it is well worth its price, an aircraft that I would recommend in confidence that it will bring hours of enjoyment to your flying experience in X-Plane 11. Alright, I'm going to check back with you guys as soon as we level off at our final cruise altitude of 15,000 feet. Welcome back, folks. We just leveled off at our final cruise altitude of 15,000 feet, and everything is looking good. We are going to now reduce power, but first we're going to bring the fuel lever to minimum right here. And everything else is looking good. We are at about 180 knots, so we're going to reduce power a little bit to maintain about 180 knots or so for the remainder of our flight today to Fresno, California. Now, from this point forward, there isn't really much for us to do other really than enjoy the beautiful scenery of Orbex True Earth, California. And we should be at Fresno in about 30 minutes from now. So I'm going to let you guys enjoy the flight, and we'll check back with you at our top of descent point, where we will begin configuring the aircraft for our approach into our destination. Enjoy the flight. Welcome back, folks. We are now approaching our top of descent point. As you can see here, we're going to head over to Alta, and then we're going to make a turn back to intercept runway 29 right. We're going to begin our descent now, so we're going to bring up the checklist once more. And to do this, we're going to go for the descent checklist this time. Briefing is completed, ice protection is fine, cabin pressure is good, flight instrument are good, and we're going to set the bugs and the CTOW. So we're going to come over here. That is set, and we are good there. If we look here, yeah, all is good here. And we're now, to begin the descent, we're going to set the altitude to the platform altitude at Fresno International runway 29 left, and we're going to set this to 1,800 feet, and everything is looking good here. We're going to click on the vertical speed, and to manipulate the vertical speed, we're going to come here and push this down. And we're going to set the vertical speed to about 1,000 feet per minute for our descent. And we're going to make sure that we ease off on the throttle here. We're going to bring the fuel levers back to max. Right there. Right, so that is set. And we are now descending at 1,000 feet per minute into our destination. If we look here, this is Alta here, and so we are not far from our destination now. We're arriving at the waypoint, here, as you can see. So here's what I did. I did a direct to Alta, and as you can see now, we're going to head over to Alta. We keep descending. We are at 11,000. We should be fine, and then we're going to descend to 1,800 feet and intercept the localizer. So everything is as per our plan. Everything is looking good. We keep descending. Our speed is a bit too high, so I'm going to ease off on the power here a little bit to slow us down. We want to go down to about 140 knots or so, and the final approach speed is about 90 knots. So all is looking good, and we continue our descent now towards Fresno. Alright, we're approaching 10,000 feet now, so we are going to turn on the landing lights. Landing lights and the wing lights are now turned on. And ladies and gentlemen, as you can see now, we are down to 7,500 feet, and we are now turning towards Fresno. We're going to take a note of the ILS frequency for runway 29er left at Fresno, which is 111.3, and the approach course is 292 degrees. We're still looking good, I think, in terms of our altitude, and we need to start now decelerating our speed. We're going to descend to 1,800 feet, and we're going to reduce our speed to 140 knots until established, and then we're going to reduce our speed to 090 knots, so 90 knots for our final approach at Fresno. We are looking good. We still have about, let's see, 10.6 nautical miles until Sango, and then another probably 10 or so until we reach Fresno. So I think we're looking good in terms of the in terms of our altitude and our speed at this point. Really a beautiful scene here of Fresno and the California area. The San Joaquin Valley is a very nice place to be at. I've lived there for many years back in the 90s, and it was definitely a wonderful time. All right, folks, the airport is right ahead of us now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce power to slow down the aircraft to about 140 knots or so. We're going to continue our descent to 1,800 feet, and we're going to set the heading bug to 292. So the heading bug is this little knob here. So let's set it to 292, which is right about here. And we are going to now engage heading select mode. But before we do so, we're going to come over here, and we are going to select CDI, and it's still on nav, and we're going to click the approach button. And as you can see, we have the localizer and glide slope pointers now here, which means everything is good, and the aircraft has captured the localizer for runway 29er right, beg your pardon, at Fresno. So we're looking good now. There we go. As you can see, the aircraft is now adjusting as it intercepts the localizer at Fresno International. Our speed keeps reducing. We're going to head back over to the checklist, and we're going to go to the approach checklist. Altimeter is set. External lights are set. Cabin signs, we need to turn, they're still on. HB valves are set. Next, for landing, we're going to turn on the auto Corsair. Landing signal is given. We are now in close proximity to runway 29er right at Fresno, and everything's looking good. We can see this is the glide slope needle. This is the localizer. We are at 1,800 feet, and we're going to leave it there. Our speed is about 140 knots, and we need to lower the gear momentarily. We can see the glide slope pointer now pointing, starting to move down. And when it is right here, we're going to basically lower the landing gear. I'm going to go to flaps 15 now, And we're going to lower the landing gear. Right, landing gear is going down. And our approach speed is going to be 90 knots today. Right, we have 3 greens for the landing gear. We're looking good. Glide slope is now active. And we're going to go to flaps 20. And just as a reminder, our final approach speed today is 90 knots, so we're going to reduce speed a little bit, and flaps 30 or 35 is the maximum flap setting now. All right, and we need to make sure those 2 guys are turned on. And let's see here. Yeah, everything else is fine. We're looking good on the approach now. As you can see, we are on the glide slope and the localizer. Reduce our speed further. Right, we are at 1,000 feet. And we are going to go ahead and disengage the autopilot. So autopilot is now disengaged, and to get rid of the siren, we need to click this red button here on the yoke. And my aircraft now, ladies and gentlemen. And we are looking good. And touchdown. Reverse. The reversers are not, for some reason, did not work, so we are just going to do the reversers manually here. And back to idle power. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fresno, California. Well, folks, I hope that this was a useful tutorial for you of how to fly the LES SAAB 340A. This aircraft, again, is one that I highly recommend with confidence. I have reviewed this aircraft in the past. It received my Golden Award in a 9 out of 10. I still think that it is worthy of the score it received, and definitely worth the investment of $49 or so. Available at the X Aviation web store. This is pretty much what I wanted to share with you guys. Before we end this video, of course, I do want to show you a final replay of our landing here at Fresno Yosemite. Well, folks, this pretty much brings us to the conclusion of our tutorial today of the LES SAAB 340A. I hope that this was an insightful and useful tutorial. As usual, if you have any questions, please do post them in the comments section below. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.